Welcome back to the podcast and welcome to today's episode with me, Johnny Pardo. Today I welcome Ashley to the show where we're going to be talking about the power of sleep. We're going to be talking about stress management as well and many, many more subjects as well. So just a quick introduction to Ashley. So Ashley is a sleep and stress management coach. He's also a licensed neuroencoding specialist like myself. He's a nutrition coach and passionate cook, and he's also the father of two amazing kids. So, Ashley, welcome to the show. Glad we could come on, and really looking forward to diving in to these topics today. I know I've struggled with sleep in actually going to sleep sometimes and not getting enough,
Yeah,
and
100%.
definitely stress in my life as well. So, for you, like usually I find when someone's like specializing in an area like sleep, stress management,
Mm.
they often, not always, have come from maybe a challenge in their own life or someone else. So yeah, just be really interesting first of all, maybe to start
Yeah.
off with, what's
Okay.
your story in getting into sleep coaching and stress management?
Yeah. Cool. So anyway, hey guys. Yeah, my name's Ashley. Thanks for the great introduction. And so yeah, I mean, my story started out. I was actually a professional chef, believe it or not, which is why I love to cook. So I was a professional chef from the age of 16 to 27,
Oh wow.
11 years. Yeah, like really high standard Michelin star restaurants. Won some accolades, some really good competitions in London as well. And I actually started a business very young. I was around 25, I think, when I started my own restaurant. It was like a restaurant with boutique rooms. And yeah, I was stressed out. I suffered with very poor health. I went bankrupt actually after 2 years of running a restaurant. I just didn't have the business know-how or the knowledge. And I was great at running a kitchen and cooking, um, but you need a lot more skills than that to run a restaurant. And as it ended up with shingles, being ill all the time, yeah, my sleep was absolutely rubbish. I mean, as a chef, never used to sleep. You work till 11 at night. By the time you get home and try and wind down, then you lay there, can't sleep because you're thinking about the next day, and then you're up again at 5, 6 a.m. So I
Oof.
ended up with shingles. I kept getting shingles all the time. I was stressed out, and I just decided to pull the plug on it. And that's when I got into the health coaching side of things. I was like, what do I want to do with my life? Well, I actually want to be healthy and I want to help people improve their health as well. Um, Being a chef, and doing all those hours, I just didn't see myself even making it to 40 years old if I didn't do something about it.
Oh wow. Uh,
Yeah.
it's um it's really interesting sometimes to hear about different like professions and different jobs, and like never really understand the impact of like the amount of work you have to do sometimes. So like yeah, getting back or going to bed after midnight and then getting up at
Yeah.
like 5, it's like probably 5 hours sleep at best, it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. That some days. And yeah, so it was crazy being sleep deprived all the time. And again, that has a knock-on effect on everything else in your life. Does
Mm.
that make sense? Like I was always, your cup's always full, and then one little thing can send you over the edge. That's why chefs are angry guys.
Mm.
Everyone's always like, oh, the chefs are so angry, and it's probably because they're really sleep deprived, and it takes one little thing to push them over the edge.
Oh wow. So yeah, like so after that you went into really looking into your health, um and obviously like sleep as well. And I know sleep is something that's particularly in like the hustle kind of mentality that's often encouraged, and I'm totally, not innocent from from that.
Yeah,
I love to work a lot, but like
yeah.
sometimes we go like, oh, I might skip a little bit of sleep, like I'll just get on,
Yeah.
just keep pushing through it. Could
100%.
you maybe tell us about maybe some of the impacts that actually skip cutting down sleep can have on you, like mentally?
Yeah, definitely. I always say, look, 1 in 3 people now struggle with sleep in the modern world we live in. And it's
Mm,
the first thing to go, isn't it? Like people always think about it as like the fourth pillar, along with
mm.
exercise, nutrition, mental well-being is huge now. And sleep's kind of that one where we just kind of, oh, yeah, I'll sleep at the weekend, which actually isn't a thing. You can't get back all that sleep debt anyway. But yeah, the truth is that sleep's the foundation to
Mm.
everything. Because if you improve your sleep, it will have this ripple effect across everything else. Okay. Now, when you talk about sleep deprivation and we go, yeah, I'll just get 4 or 5 hours, I'll be okay, it can have detrimental effects. All right. Now, let's talk about a sleep cycle quickly. One sleep cycle is 90 minutes. Most adults need 7 to 9 hours. All right. That's around 5 sleep cycles in a night. Within a sleep cycle, you have your light sleep, which actually accounts for anywhere from 40 to 60% of your sleep is just light sleep. It's just the filler for the real stuff, which is your deep sleep, slow wave sleep, okay? Only accounts for 10 to 20%. And then we have REM, which is rapid eye movement,
Mm.
okay? Which accounts for about 20 to 25% of your sleep. Now, your deep sleep is the real restorative stuff. So, guys, for your testosterone, right? For your hormones, if you're weight training to repair your muscles, this is when your body's at real rest. That's why it's called slow wave sleep in relation to what's happening in your brain at that
Mm.
time. And this is when actually the cleansing for the brain happens as well. What scientists discovered, we actually have a glymphatic system similar to the lymphatic system, and this cleanses your brain. Okay, gets rid of sticky proteins, chemicals that build up in the day. So essential now, what we've learned is to get your deep sleep to combat Alzheimer's as well.
Mm.
Now, here's the interesting thing. Okay, we talk about getting 4 to 5 hours sleep. Now, most of your deep sleep comes in those first 2 to 3 cycles. And the later stages is when you get more of your REM. Now, rapid eye movement sleep. And then rapid eye movement sleep is when you have vivid dreams. Okay. And what's actually happening, it's all about memory consolidation, learning, processing, all of those things.
Mm.
So essentially, when you're cutting down on your sleep, you're missing that, which is why you may feel more emotional, why you may get a decline in your mental health as well. Yeah.
Mm. Lots of impacts. And yeah, it's easy to brush onto the side of what when actually it's like one of the most fundamentals, it sounds like, with all the processes it's doing in
Yeah,
terms
and
of.
something really scary, just while you touched on that, is like the hustle, right? Like a lot of
Mm.
us do that nowadays, and I think you even have some famous people. I think there's Elon Musk at some point, saying he only sleeps 4 hours, and for most, and then people go and try that. They actually go and try that. I actually met someone networking at an event a couple of months ago. She was a coach as well, and we were talking about that, and she said, "Yeah, my client tried it." Even though I recommended him not to. He was trying to basically sleep 4 hours and just hustle, hustle, hustle. He had a heart attack and died.
Oh
Like
no.
that's no joke. Okay.
Wow.
Now there is a freak gene called DEC2. Okay, where if you have this gene, but only like less than 1% globally have it, where you can get 4 hours of sleep and still thrive. But for most of us, the recommended amount is 7 to 9. And if you do sleep under that, over time you will see a decline in your health.
Mm.
There's enough science that shows us that. Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. Sometimes, yeah, definitely been guilty of that. Like, I've got to hit this, this, and this. But like, even like the other week, like weekend, right? I was like, okay, it's
Yeah.
coming up to Friday night. Just wanting to get some more stuff done and wanting to get up at 6 a.m. And you know
Yeah.
what? It got to a certain hour, and I was just like, right, this is not going to give me enough sleep. So I was like, right, okay, it's okay to get up a bit,
Yeah.
later so I could have a longer sleep. And I woke up and it was the most amazing day. So sometimes
Yeah.
you can feel real benefit. And I was like, oh, wow, I'm so glad I did that. So putting it as like a foundation for me has been a real benefit just to share as well sometimes when I've experienced it.
Definitely. I've had so much more clarity since I prioritized sleep
Mm.
because coming from a personal training background when I first got into fitness, yeah, I'd prioritize the workouts, that 5:30 grind, getting up and doing the workout, even if I was sleep deprived. But I can't actually do that anymore. If I haven't had my 7 to 9 hours of sleep, the workout to me is pointless.
Mm.
And I'll actually go into a bit more science about that, especially for us guys as well. I know a lot of guys, I was working with some guys, they were getting up at 4 a.m. to work out. And, they had working their sleep. And their sleep was like 4 to 5 hours. And I was like, yeah, but how can you really put your all into that workout? Okay. And not only that as well, there was a study done, right, where they put both groups on a calorie deficit and gave them the same exercise. One group was only allowed to sleep 5.5 hours, and one was allowed to sleep over 8 hours. Now, they both lost weight, but it's where that weight came from. The group that were 5.5 hours and under with their sleep, 70% of their weight loss came from lean muscle tissue.
Mm.
Right, that's the opposite of what we want. Okay, muscle mass we know now is really linked to longevity. So there's another reason to get your sleep, guys. If you want to maintain muscle mass into later years, which we all know we're losing a certain percent after 30, right? Use it or lose it. Sleep's going to help you hold on to that and maintain it as well.
Mm. Mm.
Mm.
Getting sleep. Is it with sleep? Like I've heard various different things.
Yeah,
You got your different 7 to 9 hours, typically like, the common thing here from
yeah,
people. I feel for me that's a pretty good sweet spot. It's probably at
yeah,
least 8. Sometimes I
yeah.
get 7. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie to you, but like
I do
it's
think
like
so.
8.5 is a pretty sweet spot. But
Mm.
is that like if you is there something about the quality of your sleep that's important as well? Because
Yeah,
like, I've been
yeah,
disturbed, sometimes had that, but like being disturbed by my phone and all sorts.
yeah. 100%, 100%. The quality of your sleep is so important because, like we talked about before, within a sleep cycle, you've
Mm,
got your light sleep, okay, your deep sleep, and your REM sleep. Now, to get enough of all of it, you need to be in bed for the 7 to 9 hours for it to happen, first of all. And yeah, if you've got something like a Whoop or a sleep tracker, there's those days where you wake up and you don't feel refreshed, you don't feel rested. And it could be that you had a lot of waking episodes through the night, okay, whether you're stressed out, whether you had too much caffeine, whether the environment wasn't right, okay. Now, the light sleep does account for 50 to 60% of your sleep, but if it's increased and you didn't really get your deep sleep and you don't remember having any dreams, then the chances are that your cycles aren't great. Does that make
mm,
sense? And there's lots of things that can affect that, which we can talk about as well. Obviously, stress, not
mm,
down regulating, being on your phone too much before bed, which suppresses melatonin, that sleep hormone. Eating too late is a huge one.
mm,
And I hate to say it, alcohol is the worst one.
yeah.
Alcohol destroys your sleep, especially your REM sleep. Now,
Mm,
anybody that wears a Whoop, you have a drink, your REM sleep's down to like 1%. It's insane.
I'm
So yeah,
glad.
quality of sleep is so important
I'm
as well.
glad you. I'm glad you touched on food and alcohol as well, because
Uh,
particularly through most of my 20s, going out like every single week, like having a good time with the guys or whatever after
yeah,
sporting culture and all that. Um,
yeah,
like I would like most of the time I'm like knackered till probably Wednesday. In reality, I'm like just feeling rubbish. And I'm a bit, I'm not the kind of guy who's there till the end kind of thing or wherever he ended up. But it was just like the next few days, it was like
yeah,
it was just like absolutely exhausted, and like it took me until like Thursday, Friday before the whole cycle starts again to get a bit more energy really. And when I'd like have a quiet weekend, I'd really notice a difference. I'd be like, which is very rare, but it was like wow.
yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
incredible like
yeah.
the impact must have had on my sleep.
Yeah, it does. It does. It destroys your sleep cycle.
Mm,
And you actually, although you don't remember it, you have a lot of waking episodes, which we'll talk about in a sec as well.
mm.
But yeah, and people that go, well, I need a couple of drinks to sleep, to relax.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's one I've heard. Yeah, touch on that a little bit. Yeah.
that's something I hear all the time. Well, actually, what's happening there is they're just being sedated. So they because they fall asleep quick because they're sedated. Alcohol is a sedative, like same as a sleeping pill. So it switches off certain areas of your brain. You fall asleep faster, but it destroys the quality of your sleep. So
Mm,
that's why another reason for a hangover, waking up not feeling refreshed, is because the sleep cycle has been destroyed and your waking episodes will have been a lot. And while we're on waking episodes, this is really something I like to talk about as well because
mm.
so many people who I coach, I mean, they all get a free Whoop where I work, but they come to me and they go, "Oh, this Whoop's rubbish." It's saying I've only got like 15% deep sleep or an hour and a half to 2 hours, and I'm like, Yeah, that's right. That's all the deep sleep your body needs. The rest is light sleep. And they go, yeah, but then it says I'm awake through the night. Now, the average waking episodes across all Whoop users is 10 to 20 episodes a night. Okay,
Wow.
we know we definitely wake up at the end of a sleep cycle and through parts of our light sleep as well. And actually, we call it WASO, wake after sleep onset, increases as we age as well. And old people need and get less deep sleep. Again, they're not as active, their muscles and bones and everything isn't still growing, obviously.
Mm.
Okay. So waking up through the night, guys, is perfectly normal. So many people freak out about it. Oh, I woke up through the night and they almost get angry at it. Does that make sense? As soon as you
Mm.
get angry at it, that's it. It becomes harder to fall back to sleep. So waking up is normal as long as you can get back to sleep.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, certainly like when I can relate to waking up and then going to sleep quickly, and I also can relate to some weird kind of trances when drinking and then having and then going to sleep. It's just kind of like all over the place, really, and it's yeah,
It feels
it's
horrible,
crazy.
doesn't it?
With
Yeah, it feels
with
horrible.
stress and sleep, do you
Mm.
think I'm almost thinking it's a bit like a circle a bit because it's like you get less sleep, you're more stressed, you're stressed, you get less sleep, so that must be a bit of a
Yeah,
cycle as well.
100%. 100%. And when you're underslept, you're locked in your sympathetic nervous system.
Mm,
Everything's fight or flight. Does that
mm.
make sense? So
Yeah.
in some cases, yeah, it is the lack of sleep causing the stress. And it does become like this loop in so many ways,
Mm,
especially in the modern world we live in, like especially with our phones. So many people are addicted to their phone, and it's creating micro stress. It's creating cortisol. Does
mm,
that make or depend on what you're watching? And lots of people can't get out of that sympathetic nervous system. And to fall asleep, you've got to kick in the rest and digest, the parasympathetic. I would say it's like an aeroplane, like being up here thousands of feet up. It doesn't land like that.
mm.
And it's the same for sleep. You've got to have some runway, right? You've got to have some runway. And that's your down regulating bedtime routine.
Yeah. It's
So important.
yeah, there's definitely noticed a difference from like not being on my phone in certain most of the day and then just allowing myself at certain times of the day. It makes a massive difference in
Yeah.
productivity. Yeah,
Yeah, it does.
certainly.
Some people, I don't know about you, when I'm on electronics a lot, there's the whole EMF. I do actually find it quite fatiguing being on electronics all the time, but
Mm,
in a way that not sleepy, like kind of wired fatigued. Does that make sense?
mm,
So yeah, time away from phones is a must.
mm.
Get into nature.
What about can we touch a little bit on this kind of final one, really nutrition on sleep?
Mm.
Because obviously we touched about like alcohol, um, but yeah,
Yeah.
like which is like has a big impact on it. But what about other foods that can
Yeah.
impact on sleep, or can some foods help you sleep?
Yeah, there's some foods that can help sleep. Okay. So I don't know if you remember what was the Seinfeld episode where they're talking about turkey. Okay, turkey has got the highest amount of tryptophan. Tryptophan is an amino acid
Mm,
uh, that will help you sleep. Tryptophan is the precursor to melatonin and serotonin.
mm,
Okay, so tryptophan is the amino acid that helps your brain produce melatonin, which is a hormone neurotransmitter that when it starts to get dark outside, releases in the brain and makes you sleepy. Which, by the way, the blue LED on your line on your phone suppresses.
mm.
So put that phone down in bed. So yeah, like tryptophan, but it's not just in turkey. It's in most lean proteins. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah.
So again, having enough lean protein in your diet, I recommend a palm portion at least 4 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay, that's gonna really help. There's a lot of melatonin um, in cherries as well. Is
Mm,
a great ingredient to have to help improve your sleep. Now, obviously, foods that are going to destroy your sleep, caffeine, is pure destruction for your sleep. And you get people that go, yeah, but my stepdad, he drinks an espresso, goes to sleep. Okay. But there's enough scientific evidence and studies done, it ruins your sleep architecture.
mm,
So caffeine, basically, what makes you tired is a chemical called adenosine. All right. So when you wake up in the morning, get some direct sunlight because that'll help your brain stop the melatonin curve, release serotonin, wake up feel good hormone. And from there, what's going to build up in your brain and your system is a chemical called adenosine.
Mm.
Now it takes 14 to 16 hours to build up. So that point where you're sleepy, that's adenosine. So think about it, caffeine, adenosine, very similar in molecular structure.
Wow.
Okay. So what caffeine does, it suppresses the adenosine, which is why it keeps us alert. And it
Mm.
actually stays in our system longer than we think. After
Mm.
12 hours, a quarter of the caffeine is still in your system, which if you had a coffee at midday, it's basically at midnight when you want to sleep, like drinking a quarter of a cup of coffee.
Wow.
So yeah, so that will absolutely trash your sleep. And then timing as well. To try and eat your last meal 2 to 3 hours before bedtime.
Mm.
Okay. Avoid spicy food before bed. It's going to create acid reflux and heartburn, which is very hard to fall asleep if you've ever had that. But the main reason is for you to fall asleep, your body temperature actually has to drop by 1 degree.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
which is why a cool room is important as well. 16 to 19 degrees is optimal. There's enough studies that show that. Okay, but think about eating right before bed, thermogenic effect of feeding. If you're having a big meal, your body's got to work hard to digest, break down, absorb that meal, which is
Mm.
going to lift your body temperature. It's what we call the thermogenic effect of feeding. Okay. Whereas you should be down regulating, your body temperature should be dropping. So they're the main things when it comes to kind of nutrition, the sleep.
Oh, wow. Yeah, really, really powerful. So, Ashley, like this, you give us some really great insights today on like sleep and how important it is for us. And yeah, I know you provide like guidance on this, coaching on this, support on this. So yeah, just before we sort of like wrap up today, is there a final point that maybe you want to share or re-emphasize about sleep management, about stress management, and also
Mm.
where can the listener find you if they want to reach out or learn more from you?
Yeah. So, I would literally say fix your sleep first.
Mm.
Everyone's out there nowadays trying to fix their nutrition, like their exercise, okay, which is great, and their
Mm.
mental health. If you fix your sleep first, those things become so much easier. All
Mm.
right. Another thing, when you're sleep deprived, it trashes your ghrelin and leptin, which is your hunger hormones.
Mm.
Okay. So it's
You
very
eat
hard to
crap,
make
yeah.
good decisions. Yeah, we eat crap when we're sleep deprived. That's why. Okay. Because they're completely disrupted. So fix your sleep first, honestly. And yeah, from there, I you can download a free sleep hygiene checklist from my website, which is sleepcoachuae.com.
Hmm.
There's great tips in there. Yeah, where just things to do in your everyday life. Okay, good sleep or bad sleep is down to the habits and behaviors we're doing in our everyday life.
Mm.
So go to sleepcoachuae.com. You can download that. And I also provided Johnny with a link. Yeah, where I'm offering like a 15-minute free little consultation chat about your sleep to see if I can help you. And I can give you some personalized tips in that chat as well. And you can follow me on Instagram, Sleep Coach UAE as well.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll be sure to link all of those up in the show notes so you can find those in the show notes of this episode. So, once again, Ashley, a massive thank you for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. Great chat.
Awesome. So, that concludes our episode for today. And remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.